Mackenzie.
Lamar.
Great echo. Okay. We are doing Palm Springs, and I'm so fucking jazzed for it. And listeners, if you did not hear the end of last week's episode, I'm going to give you forewarning that we're going to spoil some pretty big components of this film right off the bat. So go watch it if you've never seen it. It's legitimately one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years. So go watch it and hit pause now because I'm about to spoil something. Here we go.
Turn around. Don't drown.
Turn around. Thank you.
It's spoiler time.
Here we go. So this is one of those weird time loop, time travel. Who knows? There's lots of different takes on this and lots of films that have done different iterations. So how this works is I have 10 films. I'm going to list them one by one.
10, so out of 10.
And you have to place them where you think they would end up on your top 10, but you're not allowed to move them after you've placed them. So like if you put something in number 1 right off the bat, you're not going to be able to move it down in the rankings later on. So by the end of this, we will have a list of 10 that by the end, you're just going to have one slot left and the last movie goes into that slot. So.
Oof, I hate this. Also,
a lot of pressure.
You're going to have to keep track of like where I put them.
Oh yeah, I
don't know. I might say the wrong one twice, you know what I mean? But yeah, okay. I got this.
So here's what we're gonna do. I will give you the movie title and you tell me where you want it on the list, 1 through 10. Okay.
God damn it. All right.
So let's start.
And I don't know the whole list. I hate this so much. Okay.
I know. Let's start with The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher.
Motherfucker.
Where do you want?
Okay, and this is an established list that I'm trying to guess where it is, or
no? This is your personal.
Oh, personal list.
Where do you think Butterfly Effect should end up?
Let's say 6.
Okay, Butterfly Effect is at 6. How about The Time Traveler's Wife?
That's actually really good, even though it's like kind of really sad and cheesy. Man, but Butterfly Effect's better, but it's not better. It's not a 5. Okay, I'll just go 5.
5. Okay, how about Edge of Tomorrow? Tom Cruise. A little bit of alien warfare.
I feel it's been a long time, but I feel like I remember that being way better than I thought it would be. So 4.
Okay. Is that one still called Edge of Tomorrow, or is it Live, Die, Repeat?
It has like 3 different names. So there's like a tagline for it. It's Edge of Tomorrow is the actual name, but they have like a tagline for it that's also used as the name, and then it's combined in different countries. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Okay. How about Back to the Future? Original 1985.
The OG. Yeah. Fuck. What else could be on this list? 3?
Okay. All right. We got a lot of the middle left, so you got your top 2 and then 7 through 10 to go. Let's hope that there's not a bunch you really love.
I know. Do you see how safe I am playing it? I'm like, everything's kind of in the middle. I don't know.
How about Looper? Jogo Levs, Bruce Willis.
Oh, Looper is pretty good. And I knew that I should have known that would have been on this list because that's not a number 2, but that's, maybe it is a number 2. Wait, so I have 6 already defined, right?
Yes. You
that's
have
Butterfly
7
Effect.
through 10, 1 and 2 left.
God damn it. Okay, I think 7.
Okay, so it's not in the top 2. Let's hope that we
Looper was. I hope I have 2 that are worth that because shit, Looper is not a number 2, but it is better than Butterfly Effect. Anyway, sorry.
All right.
Keep going.
What about Time?
Oh my god, that's so cheesy. If I remember correctly, god. So I've just said 8.
8. Okay, that one was like started out as a rom-com, but then turned into something else, which I actually thought made the movie better. I won't spoil it.
It did get better, but like a lot of it was like really cheesy. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Tenet.
Oh fuck. Okay.
This one I feel like people either really love or people really fucking hate.
I liked it. So I'm gonna have to go 2 because it's not 9. Okay. It's not 9. But Interstellar is like, we haven't talked about Interstellar yet. Is Interstellar on this list?
It's not. These are just randomly selected. How about, let me give you, this one might be a softball. So how about Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh my fucking god. 9, 10, whatever's left. I don't know.
You have 9 or 10. So do you want to put it dead last or do you want to put
10?
It in? Okay. 10. Time Cop is 10. I think the Prime Cut boys are going to be a little hurt by that one.
They're going to be really upset with me. Yes. Guys, don't listen to this one. Go away.
Okay. So you have your number 1 and your number 9.
Shit.
Happy Death Day. Have you seen Happy Death Day?
I have not.
It's kind of similar to this. It's kind of a time loop. Every day starts anew kind of thing, but it's a horror comedy kind of.
9. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it. That's kind of fair.
I gotta say 9.
I'm gonna say you played this pretty well. Because I think you did, if I had to guess. Because the last one I have left is Groundhog Day.
That is a good number one.
That's a solid number. Honestly, number one. I think things shook out pretty well, all things considered. So I'll read you from 10 to 1. Number 10, Time Cop. Number 9, Happy Death Day. Number 8, About Time. Number 7, Looper. Number 6, The Butterfly Effect. So you like Butterfly Effect more than Looper. Who knew? Number 5, The Time Traveler's Wife. Number 4, Edge of Tomorrow. Number 3, Back to the Future. Number 2, Tenet. And number 1, Groundhog Day.
That's pretty close to accurate. I would move Looper up higher, but you know, if I had known the context. But yeah, that's actually not bad. That's so anxiety inducing though. Woo. It was so good.
A lot of pressure.
There's so much pressure. All right. That's good. For sure. Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lamar.
And we are continuing just June with Lamar's pick for the month. And one we have really teed up well, I think. So we're talking about Palm Springs today.
I'm so fucking excited. Yeah. And it's just June, guys. It's just June. We can do whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want in June. I actually really like this concept. But yeah, so we're very excited. And I'm excited to try our cocktail as well. It's a fun setup. I'm excited to show you mine. But what are we drinking?
Yeah, so I think the vibes of this are very bright. It all takes place, quote unquote, in Palm Springs, right? And it's this sort of middle of the desert oasis kind of vibe. So from at Craft World went with, I guess, sort of a tiki-ish summertime, out in the sun, fruity, vibrant cocktail. But this is 2 ounces of rum, half an ounce of cranberry juice, half an ounce of palm juice, or palm liqueur if you want it a little stronger, and then half an ounce of orange juice. So you shake that. Strain it into a copper mug with crushed ice. You can use an umbrella garnish, cherry, orange wedge. So yeah, all the fruits in there. You want this thing.
I was going to say there were so many fruity, juicy things happening here for sure. Very
nice. And we are calling this Tomorrow Problems. That's super on the nose with the theme of this film, right?
It is. Yeah. All right. Cheers. Mine's. Cheers. I have the umbrella. I followed. We need to get you some umbrellas.
I was going to say, I'm embarrassed to even show mine because I did not do any of the dressings. I was in a rush between episodes, so mine is just this mishmash in a glass.
Yeah, I don't have orange, and I thought the cherry would just get lost in the umbrella. So we almost did it. We almost did it, guys. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
I do think mine still looks pretty because it's so frosty.
I like that when copper mugs, get the frost on the outside.
Yeah.
That'd be a good out in the sunshine drink for sure.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Okay. So if you missed it somehow, or you hate a cold open and you skip it, turn around, don't drown. It's spoiler time. Mm-hmm. We are spoiling things right at the top, even though this is not that old. But let's get into it. So Palm Springs, like we said, this came out during the pandemic,
3 months 2020. Into it.
Mm-hmm. So this was originally supposed to release in theaters. It did not, after all. It went straight to Hulu. So again, if you haven't seen it yet, pause what you're doing and go watch it. Very good. But the ratings were 7.4 out of 10, despite not getting, again, a big theatrical release. That's pretty solid, IMDb. Yeah. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, we got 94% critics and 89% audiences. So same thing, not big distribution, not a big splash, unfortunately. I'm sure it would have made one had it gotten fully released, but very well reviewed.
Yeah, when it came out, it was the most quickly streamed movie in Hulu history. And I think part of that is the pandemic, but I think it's also timing wise, right? What better film to come out during the pandemic when we're all stuck at home living the same day over and over and over again than this?
So true. So true. It's like the universe knew what it was doing.
This is going to succeed if we do this. So
Yeah. No. And I mean, as a result, though, just to call it out at the top, the box office numbers aren't great, right? Because it was $5 million budget and it was 1.5 is what it's listed as having made. That being said, it sold for the most amount ever at Sundance. So it was $17 million and 69 cents. And I'm like, what pervy guy doing this deal was like, you know what? I'm going to beat this bid, but not by any number, by 69 cents. Yeah, so
it beat the record by that amount. And that is the most Andy Samberg Lonely Island thing of all time. We're going to win by 69 cents.
Like, of course it's 69 cents. Yeah. So yeah, even though the budget, you know, was it was moderate budget. It wasn't bad. Like for what they're doing with it, it makes perfect sense. And it didn't make on paper much against that, you know, it still made a lot when it was bought in that sense. And then again, I think it's got kind of a good deal with Hulu and you can all watch it now. So that's a win. That's a win.
Yeah, it's we said this last week. Like I tried to find it on Blu-ray. I like to own still my favorite films on Blu-ray just so that if my internet is down, I can still watch them, or if it's, you know, put behind a paywall, I can still watch them. You can't buy that except for like in Europe. You can get like a European version because Hulu just has this locked down. They know what they've got in this. It's exclusive, so you got to get a Hulu membership.
Unless you want to get fancy and get like region converter players, which is a whole thing we can talk about offline. But yeah, I agree with you. It's one of the many reasons I'm never getting rid of the movie we talked about last week, Lilo and Stitch, my DVD copy, because it's the only one literally that is not edited and has the original version. So sometimes
you want that kid climbing into a dryer. You're like,
I want that kid climbing into a dryer for the fucking nostalgia. Okay. Like you helicopter parents need to chill out. Anyways. So yes, keep your DVDs if you get them. I highly recommend it. So we're going to get into some basics here. The director is Max Barbakow and he has done Brothers, which is super on brand. And like The Improv Guru, I think, are the most recent ones that people would maybe know. Have you seen?
I haven't seen any either of them. I clicked on Brothers, and apparently it's Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin playing brothers, but it wasn't well received. I think it came out last year, so I didn't go out of my way to see it.
It doesn't feel like the right combo. Like I could kind of see maybe where they were trying to go with that, but yeah, it did not look especially intriguing to me. But that's okay. That's just me. We got a couple writers on this. So the director also was one of the writers, but the other writer is Andy Ciara. And he did obviously Palm Springs, but then he did Grill Dog is supposedly what he's very well known for. I also haven't seen that. That was just a short. The Resort was a TV series.
Was a TV series that actually has Cristin Milioti in it, and it has I can't think of the actor's name, but if you watch The Good Place, the guy that plays Chidi is in it, and Janelle really liked the series, but I didn't stick with it. I think it only has one season as of now.
Okay. Well, anyway, maybe you guys know them, maybe you don't. And then we've got a pretty small cast to cover today. Like any nuggets you want to add, Lamar, feel free, because I only stuck with the people we see the most, which for us is really small. We see Andy Samberg, obviously, all day, every day. And he's done, obviously, we talked about him recently, actually, but he's, SNL, Pop Star, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like a bunch of things that you would, know him for. And he's a big reason why this movie got funded, to be fair. He was excited to do this and was excited and interested in it. And part of, I think, why it actually ended up happening.
He was also good in the Chip and Dale movie that came out like a couple years ago. Like he played Dale, I think. Worth seeing, honestly. I thought I had such low expectations. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's a solid film. You should watch it.
Like a fun watch. Cool. All right. And then we also have Cristin Milioti, who she's probably most well known for How I Met Your Mother, which is kind of funny because she's actually not in it that long, but she's also in Wolf of Wall Street was something she made an appearance in. And then she did, I would
say that now she's probably, I think most people would recognize her from The Penguin. She plays Sophia Falcone on that, and she crushes it. It's mainly her and Colin Farrell are two of the three main characters in that, and she makes such a terrifying villain, which is so different than what she's doing here.
Interesting. I feel like I have such a hard time with Batman stuff because if y'all didn't already know, my last name is Wayne. My dad's name is Bruce Wayne, Batman. We're very obsessed with Batman in our house. But however, I've seen a lot of Batman stuff done really poorly. And like, I was really excited, for example, about like the Gotham series, and I tried to go watch it and it really let me down. So I've kind of been taking a breather. But anyway,
first off, how am I just now finding out that your dad's name is Bruce Wayne? Secondly,
is this really the first time you've just found this out?
I don't think you've ever mentioned this before.
Wow.
So
I'm shocked, especially with like movie stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the second thing I was going to ask is, so is it that your dad signed away his life's movie rights and he's pissed off when the content is not up? He's like, no, they did this all wrong. I didn't fight the penguin on a building.
Yeah.
I fought him in the sewers. Is that what's happening?
I can neither confirm nor deny what my father is done or not done. You know what I mean? But yeah. Fun factoid. Wow. I can't believe it took us, even on the pod, like if that's the first time we talked about
bonkers.
It. Seems like seems late.
It's worth checking out the penguin. It's a much
there's no focus. That's what I'm saying. Are you reassuring me here that I can watch
it's all about the villains. And Cristin Milioti,
I love a villain anything.
Oh, for sure. And Cristin Milioti, fun fact, she was born and raised about 15 minutes down the road from where I lived in Jersey.
I saw she was from Jersey. I was gonna ask you that. I'm glad you remembered to say that, because I was like, how close is this? I have no idea. That's cool. Well, I'm excited to watch her as that, because yes, she's very different. That would be very different from not only this, but like the other stuff I've seen her in. So that's cool. We also have J.K. Simmons, who's just a fucking gem and like can play anything. He's a legend. He has done a bazillion and one things, but I think the thing that I always like to mention is Whiplash. He plays Fletcher, who's a instructor at a music conservatory, very much a hard ass. Man, we were
Oscar
like talking
winner,
about my dad a lot today,
that?
but he did win for that. But it's very much like the school. Like my dad's a musician, and like the kind of like teachers that he grew up with. So like that, it's very triggering in our family, but it's very well done. You should check it out. And also, fun fact, in this movie, he's dressed up as Fletcher at one point. So he's done that. He's done Juno. He did La La Land. He's done all kinds of
Spider-Man.
Stuff. What is your, I was going to say, what's your favorite J.K. Simmons?
I know we mentioned this, it's not my favorite, but we mentioned this last week. He's Omni-Man on Invincible, so that Prime series. It feels like everybody's on Invincible. Like Stephen Yeun is on there.
Have you watched it yet?
I enjoy it, but it's kind of wearing thin for me because it is a superhero thing at the end of the day, and I don't like it when there's a ton of fake out deaths in superhero lore. It's just a product of the medium, but it's falling into those habits. And even though some of the fight scenes are incredible and it's really graphic and gory, the performances are great. I hope they only get 1 or 2 more seasons. I'm kind of done with it, but
I'm kind of over it.
I was also going to mention not one of my first experiences with J.K. Simmons, but one of the first times post Spider-Man that I really was blown away by him was he's a voice actor in the video game Portal 2. He plays kind of like this mad scientist character that's I think he died, like the character dies before you get there, but he's just this voice on the intercom that's giving you directives and telling you what to do. But it's just J.K. Simmons being very, very funny and very terrifying. And then I had no fucking idea about this, but the craziest credit I found for him. Did you know he voices the yellow M&M in the commercials to this day? He is the peanut M&M. I never heard it before. And then I went on YouTube and was like, no fucking way. And he's still voiced since like 2000.
You know, it's funny. I haven't seen a commercial and I don't even know how long because I hate an ad. I pay for no ads on all the things, and I will aggressively mute commercials if they are forced upon me. So I haven't heard one in forever. But now that you say that, I can hear it.
Yeah, you just
not having watched
imagine
it. Imagine
J.K. Simmons doing
him.
A doofy voice.
Yeah,
and
it is him.
Yeah.
You're totally right. Wow. That's so funny. Of course, he also has done like the Liberty Mutual commercials. Like, Tucker will do anything, but he does it all very well.
Yeah.
He's making money. And last one I'll mention, I will say, just because I think he's worthy of mention in general, his resume precedes him, is Peter Gallagher, who's done a gazillion things, but he's also been a stage actor and has been a known force in New York for many, many years. But he's done like American Beauty, Center Stage, The OC, Burlesque. Like he's done all kinds of stuff. So anyway, he's in this as well. And there's a bunch of other supporting characters that we don't spend a ton of time with.
Facts. Yeah, I've got a little note later on when we get into the actual plot of like, I want to shout out some of the side characters, but we can hold off until then.
Alrighty. Well, speaking of the plot, quick summary, because we're not going to give you the whole explanation. It gets quite complicated, but Niles and Sarah find themselves stuck in a time loop and living the same day over and over again. They are drawn to each other, but certain revelations threaten their budding romance. And I'm glad we threw down a spoiler warning way at the top, because that is the IMDb summary and gives away, like, it changes your first watch. Like, that's my first note, is that this second watch for me was so different than the first, because you don't know that going in. You're not supposed to know that going in.
The first, I want to say 15-ish minutes of the film, you really don't have any idea what's going on. You get hints of it, which I've told you before. I think this was my 6th time watching this in 5 years.
Yeah.
So I fucking love this movie.
We planned this one kind of last minute, and Lamar was like, I can record that whenever because I've seen it a bazillion times.
And I also went out of my way to watch it again today just because I will never say no to watching it. It's just still makes me laugh. Every single joke still lands. But I caught this time, not that I didn't know it was there, but that opening where we see the goat walking around in the desert, you see the ground start to crack open, and then we get a hard cut to wake up, and then we get into Niles' character. But so something weird is going on, and it's like, what the fuck am I watching? Yeah. But as things go out, and you're like, he seems to know things that are gonna happen, but you still don't get the whole grasp until I think the second day.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to really know. There's like hints that he's either really smooth or just funny or lucky or whatever. And then, you come into like, oh no, he's done all this before. But it also, I think on the first watch, which, again, this is only my second, so it was still top of mind for me. But on the first watch, you were kind of like, why is this guy being a douchebag? You know what I mean? Like, because there's a few things that, if this is a normal day, he's being kind of a douchebag, right? And so you're like, what is happening? But then again, like everything kind of clicks into place and you're like, oh, and then you really understand what he's been going through and you start to empathize with the fact that he's been in this loop for untold amount of time. But we learn it's quite a long time.
It's also, I was sitting here thinking about what it would be like to get stuck in something like this. I almost feel like he's in the best situation possible because, to your point, when he's being a douchebag, he's showing up to a wedding reception in like swim trunks and a buttoned out like red floral shirt or whatever. And steps in and decides to give a speech but he's in this situation where he's just to these people, he's Misty's boyfriend, or no one knows who he is. I feel like that's almost better than if you were Sarah or a different character who these people all know and you've got to keep reliving this day. It's kind of better to just be like an outsider, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, again, when you learn everything that he's going through and like why he shows up this way, you're kind of like, well, what would you do? Like, you can totally empathize with why he would end up this way. And, maybe it's a little early to call this out, but I mean, like, we've already given a spoiler warning. The director was interviewed about this, and in theory, he's been in this loop for 40 years.
There's that line where she's like, what do you do for work? And he goes, I don't remember. And that's bonkers to think about. But you think as you go through this film and you learn about how many things he has done in here, from the amount of effort it would take to get a random person at this wedding to sleep with you, or to go on these adventures, like going around the globe, all these different things, the amount of time. Yeah, you think about that and you realize, fuck, he's been in here by himself for the longest time.
For a long time. I mean, and again, they don't ever quantify it to 40, in the movie, or even really give you a real frame of reference, but it's got to be years plural with the amount of things that he mentions. You don't know how many, but you're like, he's been in there for a fuck ton of time. And I think that's what's interesting about the watch for me on the second time, was like, you start from understanding where he's coming from, which actually takes more work in the first watch, obviously. And then you're like, oh, okay, I get it. But then you get the benefit, I think, a little bit of seeing what this would be like for you, the viewer, a little bit, right? Like, you're sort of entering this world and this experience with her at the same time. And so you're like, well, what you're seeing this like embittered old guy, right? Who's not new to this, but then you're like, what would this be like as it's happening? And that's kind of like the ride that she takes us on. And I think that's what they do really well, is like, you get both perspectives kind of in one snapshot.
Yes. The amount of foreshadowing that you pick up on multiple watches is insane. The fact that we've talked about at the beginning in depth of time travel movies, time loop movies. And obviously there's an element of, you have to be really safe and smart with things like continuity and making sure when you're doing a time loop, inevitably things have to match up, right? The characters have to have a sense of sameness, and then the set pieces, everything has to align. The fact that this was shot in 21 days, 21 fucking days, and there's not I can't find any mistakes.
So thorough.
Like,
I mean, I'm sure there are some, but they're small enough that they are not noticeable, they make sense in the context of the movie. Most of all, like the first thing that I thought of this time that I mean, they sort of explain it in a minute, but it took me a second to process like that J.K. Simmons' character Roy lives in Irvine, and so like why is he only here sometimes but not always? And it's like you wake up where you woke up that day is the more like, and it takes you like a split second to remember that, because otherwise you're like, what? And that's a really interesting concept, right? Of like that his day every day could be both really different and the same because of where he woke up, and that this place is reachable for him. So
and
like,
it's like, do I feel like killing Niles today? That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah. And it's like, and it opens up a lot of possibilities of what all you could do within a reachable radius, right? Like what you could do with your day, even though it's the same day, it could be very different. But what the snapshot that we are seeing is that ultimately, because everything feels kind of meaningless at this point, you end up at the same thing, right? Like you end up doing kind of the same thing every day. And so like, that was a really interesting, like mental progression for me of like, is this how this day would end up for you? Because, you know, you get to this point of like, this is all pointless. This is all meaningless.
Yeah. Speaking, you're segueing perfectly, almost like a roundabout time loop back to the foreshadowing thing. And I mean, the guy's name is Niles. I didn't pick up on it until this watch, literally my 6th watch, of like nihilism. Nothing matters. That's his outlook on life. It's very on the nose, but it took me until this watch to realize that's what the fuck was happening. And to your point, you can do all these things. You can get to know every single person at this wedding, in the surrounding towns. You can make somebody fall in love with you for a day or whatever. You can travel as far as you can get.
But nothing matters.
But by the time you run through all those options, you just get into this slump of like, nothing fucking matters. To get back to my point on like, the shit that gets foreshadowed is so, I mean, you called out the dance. He seems to know everything that's going to happen. The guy drops his keys. He pulls the chair when the guy's about to fall over. I love when Jerry first swims up to him in the pool and is like, anything can happen by the end of the night. And he's like, not today.
And he's like,
because
not
they have
today.
hooked up before. So he's like, but nice try. And then speaking of Roy, when he's smelling the air and you think it's, there's multiple ways to read it, but he calls out like the orchid explosion thing, which circles back later, and he claims he's smelling her shit, but it turns out he's actually smelling Roy, because Roy is there that night hunting him. I just love the little things like that that you pick up on multiple watches.
You do pick up on more and more. I mean, again, this is only my 2nd watch, but I feel like I did pick up on more on this watch. But the core themes kind of stand out to you as the same, at least for me, of just like, especially early on, right? Where again, we're doing this with her for the first time. You're going through these like phases of grief with her, of losing access to her old life, which, while not perfect, was something she knew and understood and maybe had goals and hopes and dreams of for, right? And all of that goes away when you're trapped in this place, and you kind of ride that wave with her, and their relationship as it progresses feels both like inevitable and not, right? Like it could not end up that way because of their dynamic, but they have a bond, but she deeply doesn't want to be there, right? So like just watching that progression you picked up on more in that process, I think, every time that, you know, that the second time that I watched it, I'm sure even more so for you.
And she lives in Austin, Texas. So, I mean, I'd be bummed if I couldn't get back here. So I like that we get a little shout out.
Important note, she moved there for her ex, who sucks and probably doesn't want to go back to Austin, if we're being honest.
True.
So hopefully she'll be one of the few to move away and, you know, free up the roads. But whatever.
Not to jump too far ahead. We can get to the sort of conflict when it comes. But the fact that we do find out that they have hooked up before within Niles' time loop, that first meeting of them, you realize he's kind of going by a rule book of here's how I play the cards if I want to hook up with Sarah. And I love
I've figured it out.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a part where on every watch I kind of like cringe at it, but it's when they're listening to his girlfriend cheating on him and they're outside
with the officiant guy.
Yeah,
Trevor.
They have this awkward conversation of like, this is so fucked up, but it's kind of hot. And then he says, "Don't you kiss me?" And she says, "Don't you tell me what to do?" He knows she loves to break what people tell her to do. So that's kind of icky on rewatch. And obviously their relationship blooms from there. But all that foreshadowing is brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, he knows the lines, he knows the moves. And what's interesting is like, yeah, like to your point, he knows what's going to work. And at this point you have no indicator that it's anything else, right? Than the hookup. And you hear later again, like that they've hooked up thousands of times. And I wonder if he just, we don't dig into that at all really, other than it's a source of betrayal for her, obviously. But I wonder if he's coming back to her purely because the options are limited at this wedding, right? And among other things, but because he actually likes her in these earlier versions and doesn't really like, is he even putting that together? Because again, nothing matters, right? Like, and this is the first opportunity that they really connect and really bond, to where then he realizes how much he could ultimately like her, and like how she could give this experience meaning, because later on he wants her to stay.
Yeah.
You know, he wants her to be with him, you know?
That's a good call out of why is he circling back to her at this point. I kind of had that thought on this watch of like, well, they've done this before. He knows this is all meaningless, but is this just a one-off random day where he's like, well, who do I want to fuck today? Like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Or is it that he's drawn to her in some way? And I think I like to imagine it that way. That seems a little healthier of a relationship dynamic.
I think he is drawn to her, but he knows, to your point, like he can't go anywhere because she's not going to, they're never going to get past this day. And then he's even like protecting her when she follows him. He's like, don't do it, don't do it. And her ending up there was not, and like that would be really bad, right? If he let her end up in this because he liked her, and he wasn't trying to do that, and then that just happens to happen. And I think that obviously changes everything in terms of how they can actually connect more deeply now that they're there together, you know?
Yeah, to my earlier point about the first 15 or so minutes of this, where it's just playing like a rom-com, right? It seems pretty straightforward, of like, oh, this is weird, and he seems to know more than he's letting on. But when they're hooking up in the desert out there and the arrow hits him, that's when the movie flips a fucking switch.
Going. It totally does. And I think like she plays it so well of like, what in the actual fuck is happening?
Her delivery of that is great. Yeah.
And she's just like, I mean, yeah, it sounds silly to say like she plays that very well, of like this genuine, just utter, like, what would you say? How could you possibly react? This is insane. But I also think another turning point in the movie, to your point of like, it flips the switch there, and it totally does. But I think the other point that it flips the switch is when she reaches like the acceptance phase of being there. Because again, I feel like a lot of this is watching them go through the stages of grief, right? He's been in the stage of acceptance for quite a long time. And again, to the degree that nothing matters, but she has to go through all the things, the anger and the rage and the sadness and the depression, whatever. So she has to go through all of that. But then when she gets to acceptance, like, fuck it, we're stuck here. Like, I have in my notes, once she reads acceptance, shit gets amazing. Like they have a great time. They are like bonding, connecting. The fucking billiards bar dance routine
that they've
is
clearly rehearsed
hilarious.
For weeks, that they've
like crushed it. And they come in there and like, and just imagine being in that bar and like, this is one day for you. This is just a random day. And this couple walks into the bar and does this shit. Yeah. Like, it's just so hilarious in that context, you know?
It's so cool to think about it, because we just talked about how for Niles, things have become meaningless. But now having this new person there, who it's like now a whole new fucking world. Now two of us can experience this together, and it's him really trying not to fuck it up throughout of like, oh, now if things develop and we have a messy breakup, or like we don't want to be friends anymore, now we're both fucked just like him and Roy are.
Yeah.
But yeah, that lead up of them before they get to the happy place, where they're both sort of content. I love that this calls out sort of the meta-ness, and it addresses all the things that those of us who have seen time loop or time travel movies, all the theories that could be going through your head when you watch this. They talk about, he gives her a whole list of like, maybe it's purgatory, maybe it's a dream, maybe I'm imagining you, maybe you're imagining me. And she does the thing about, well, maybe it's karma, maybe it's a Groundhog Day situation. She doesn't say that, but it's Groundhog Day, right? Like, I need to do something selfless to earn my way out of this. And it's like, that doesn't work, let's drink. And then the movie gets to be really fun.
Yeah, and I love that she, of course, like tries to think through all of this and do all these other things, but then once she can't, it's not even just like let's fuck it and be depressed and drink our way through the day and do nothing. It's like let's go find some joy. That's the thing that I liked about the way this movie went. Rather than like he could have gone to a much darker place, right? And there's a slight allusion to the fact that he has, right? Because he's talked about taking his life multiple times and that he has tried to leave this place through that method and it hasn't worked.
Done a lot of suicides.
Done a lot of suicides. Yeah. And the way he delivers it, I don't know, it doesn't make it that heavy, and it makes it like not funny, but understandable, right? It's just this, again, acceptance of you reach a point in here where you just want to leave and you'll do anything to do it. And I've tried so many times, but it doesn't work. And so here we are.
Double tap on that of the dark places that are alluded to, but that we don't go. I mean, I think that the Roy stuff gets pretty dark, but Niles at one point says, I think it's after Sarah hits Roy with the car and kills him or cripples him. He says something of like she's like, it doesn't matter, right? We can hurt people, like, no, and he's like, it matters, the violence and stuff. So that tells you that he's also gone through that phase of I can kill people, I can hurt people. We don't see it,
I can do things that I will regret, you know, you'll feel it, you'll regret it. Yeah, that he's, and I think that's great, right? Like he's the first guy through the wall a little bit, so he's gotten kicked in the teeth, and he's able to share some of those learnings with her so that she doesn't have to go through all of them. And I think that's like he's protecting her in that way a little bit. And they have these really like heartfelt conversations that feel, you know, not manufactured, right? Like you would end up for sure in these, yes, they allude to like we're on mushrooms or whatever, but you would end up drinking into the night. It doesn't matter what you do. You would end up having these conversations with the only other person to your knowledge who can understand what you're going through. And you get allusions to like the thing that she is grappling with that she hasn't shared, right? This major betrayal of her sister. And she does not like, she's like, I cannot keep waking up here. And he's like, well, obviously none of us can, but he thinks it's just rooted in this like crazy situation, right? For her, it's she's waking up in the worst decision she's maybe ever made every single day. And she's like, it's so much heavier for her every day to wake up there than it is for him. And I think it opens up that conversation about like, do you think knowing the past of a person really matters? Like, is that really what knowing them is? And he's like, I don't think, you know, she feels very strongly that he can't know her. He can't really connect with her because he doesn't know about this thing that she's dealing with every day. And so I think it makes their like, even though they have this connection that is obviously strong, she still has him at arm's length for a good chunk of that time because she can't admit that to him. She can't admit that that's what she's dealing with when she wakes up every day.
She's using him sort of as not using him, but it's a distraction, right? And it's him every day kind of turning around where she comes from in the morning. I'm surprised that Andy Ciara, the writer here, hasn't done more because this script, in my opinion, is just brilliant. And I think
very well done.
It's so, for an hour and 24, it's so fast and it moves at just the right pace and it tells all the story it needs to tell. But the fact that moment where we get that reveal comes the night after they've slept together. Like we've seen this happy build up and this sort of like I love that montage you were talking about when they're giving each other the dick tattoos. And you think it's like a joke, but then you find out, she actually requested a dick.
Did you get the jizz line right? It's like, yeah, straight line, dot, don't worry. Like they're on board.
So we have that build up and then the shrooms and then them finally making love. And then the next morning she wakes up with a smile on her face and then we get that reveal. Like that is just such a gut punch at that moment of time.
Because she remembers what just happened, right? She's supposed to be waking up with him and she's supposed to be happy about that. And instead she wakes up again in the same mistake. And I just feel like any progress or joy that you have found would be so backtracked, would be so, you know, 2 steps back for that reason. Like you woke up in that and you're back to the beginning and it feels like you're never going to escape that. And what do you do with that when you feel like you can't share it or admit it to somebody? And so she starts to act really weird, which of course makes him feel like, oh shit, like to your point earlier, this is the person who's stuck in here with me. Right. We are bonding. We've been friends, but now we've crossed that line. And did I ruin it? Do I have another 40 years in here with another person who either hates me or doesn't want to spend time? Like how mortifying is that you think you found kind of your person in this extreme circumstance and they regret it.
Yeah.
You know, so like I really feel for him that morning too. And to your point about the script, like I think he writes all of these really unique circumstances and really conflicting feelings and situations like really well in a way that is very balanced, and again, like not too depressing and not overly comedic when it shouldn't be, and you know, very well balanced in moving the story forward.
Yeah, that argument they have when they're both sitting there handcuffed is brutal. Like it feels real, and you don't necessarily, you know, neither one of them is the bad guy. They both are making valid points of he's trying, to your point, to protect her, of like, you can't just kill people. Like that is not okay. You're going to carry that on your conscience, and we're going to be here forever.
And the littering, I love that he's anti-littering. He's like, oh, so we're just littering now? Like,
but he had no problem when she fell out of the car. Like that bit gets me when she falls and like tumbles and wakes up like, stop, and she's already dead. Yeah. But anyway, but no, that argument is brutal. And, you know, he's calling her out on the only reason you're stuck in here is because you didn't listen. I told you not to come into the cave, and nobody tells you what to do. Yeah. And then she calls him, you know, what, all these mean names, and is like, I definitely wouldn't have fucked you if I had known I'd be stuck here with a little boy. And then we get that line.
And he's just like, oh, please, bitch.
So yeah. And that last segment of the film, again, for how quick it's wrapped up, just, again, it's scripted really well, where he does it. He's never known where she is in the morning. She always wakes him up. So he goes to try and find her, and she's off doing her own thing.
And how brutal is that? Like that you don't get a real sense of time on his side, right?
Yeah,
you don't get that until
she's doing all these studies. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just like, he's getting increasingly sad and desperate and devastated and all the things. And the one funny thing I will say about this is, like, to me, it's very sad that he can't find her and all of that. But I love how emblematic this is of like how dudes cope with shit versus how women cope with shit. Like, this guy is like, I'm gonna just be depressed and sad, and I'm gonna be lazy and drink my way through this. Meanwhile, she's like, I'm gonna go get a degree in quantum physics, and I'm gonna solve the fucking thing. And I was like, this is so women versus men in dealing with trauma and pain. And there's actually a stat about like women who get divorced are really like, they heal and get successful, or like degrees within a year, versus guys will do nothing, right? And so I just thought this was such a funny way for him to like be sad and throw a tantrum, and she's off like learning quantum mechanics, and it was great.
How long do you think that takes? How long do you think she could learn all of that and become an expert at this theory?
I mean, she clearly is an expert, right? Like the guy that she calls like Clifford Johnson or whatever it is, he is apparently the consulting scientist on the film, so he makes a slight appearance or whatever. But I mean, if that's all you're doing, you could probably do that in, you know, a couple of years. But like that's doctorate plus level, like postdoc level education. You know what I mean? Like that's 6 to 10 years minimum, probably, and then some. But if all you're doing every single day is trying to solve this thing, and you're also getting like this very unique practical application where you can test things that you wouldn't be able to test anywhere else, my hope is it would go faster. But yeah, I think this is at least a couple years of them like not being together, you know, which is really sad.
It is. And yeah, you put it great when you were talking about like from his perception, like what is this experience like if you were alone for so long, you finally had kind of a partner in crime, and now you're alone again. And like talk about
how much harder is that to like recover from
already being at nothing matters, finally getting hope, and then getting driven right back down into it. But I do love the way that this movie handles the time loop, the time travel, whatever you want to call it. I like that they have it end in sort of science in a way, that she studies this thing. She figures out a way of like, this is potentially what's okay, it's a magic cave, but here's potentially how we could get out of here. It doesn't feel hokey. I don't know how it feels for you when you see that, and it's like, if that seems too convenient, but I like that it goes a scientific route.
No, I like it. I think that she does. Again, I like that it's her that goes and solves this thing. I think that's really cool. And she was kind of trying to do that at the beginning, right? She's clearly a problem solver, and I'm sure he went through that phase too, don't get me wrong, but you can tell she's a doer, and I think that's really cool to see her like really solve it, and that she comes back to him and says like, I'm gonna take you out of here with me. You hurt me, I'm sad, I'm upset by what you did, but like this is important that I tell you and that I save you as well if there's an option. I love that she calls Roy and leaves the voicemail too of like, this is how you can get out if you want to do it, you know. And so I think that that's great in a number of ways. And that actually like that scene where the explosion happens, I even have in my note that like, this is so beautiful, cheesy shot.
Yes.
But it's like still a beautiful shot, right? It's like a cheesy moment but it's still beautifully shot. And it's after this great speech that he gives that again is quite cheesy, but I like that they make it feel real because he gets one sentence and he like does all the commas and the colons or whatever. And she's like, well, that is a grammatical nightmare. And I'm like, girl, I could not relate more to that reaction.
And I also love how Sarah is not just Niall's love interest. She is her own character throughout this entire thing.
Yeah.
And the way that she plays it, when the last 2 or 3 conversations they have, when she first wakes him up for the first time again, and he says, I have so much, and he spills his guts of like, I'm sorry, I fucked up, blah, blah, blah. Her response is just like, okay, are you finished?
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
But she acknowledges it. Yes. Like she acknowledges it, appreciates it, and she moves on and she's like, we're cool. You know, I do think that that's like not only sweet, but like healthy. You have to forgive people, you know?
And that the conversation they have as they're about to leave and he gives that big speech. And that is just like, this movie is, I think the reason this lands so well for me, I know I'm going to rate this higher than some people do, but it's like my exact style of comedy. And it's been just such a feel-good movie for me in the last 5 years. I just think the dialogue that they speak to their relationship with at the end here, when he's, begging her to kind of be with him. And she says, I'd be just fine without you. You know that, right? But there's a chance life will be less boring with you. I think that gets my heart.
Yeah, it's so romantic, but with realism, right? Like it's, his emphatic period. And she's like, that's just an exclamation point. He's like, but I didn't want to sound desperate. And it's so, they're having this very human conversation and being vulnerable, but in a way that, to your point, she's like, I would be, because they would, right? Literally everybody can survive without their person, right? But life can be better with your person. And I like that she kind of says that I'm fully capable, I'm going to be fine, but like you make life better, and that again, like to me circles back to the beginning. And I agree with you. It gets me because at the beginning of like, they could wallow, they could just drink their days away and just be sad and just get drunk in bars, but they try to go find joy together and dance and play and be silly. And, and I think if you can do that with somebody, then you can get through some really hard things. And that's exactly what they're doing here. And why it, I think, makes a lot of sense.
For sure. She says that bit of, what if we get sick of each other? That fear of just, over time, you're going to lose. And we've talked about a bunch of movies on this podcast that have that theme of Blue Valentine. We've mentioned Marriage Story, haven't covered it, but there's a lot of that in cinema. And he says, we're already sick of each other. It's the best. I love that line. It's super cheesy. I feel like the way that I react to this movie is how women in their 40s watching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days reacted to the ending of that movie. Like for some reason, it's my exact right level of cheesiness, but it hits home for me because I think that's how I think about the work that goes into relationships, right? I am very realistic about it.
You can be sick of something in someone and be real and still love them very much and still have like joyful, beautiful days. And I think that's like, he's like, yeah, you annoy me, or like we annoy each other, or we're, but I still love you, and we still again find joy together. And so, and that's not always the case. So like, I think that's what makes it a love story, but like a realistic one. And yes, it is very cheesy in a lot of ways, but I like that tinge of realism throughout, and the science, like you said. And then they cut to like getting through this, which is really cool. But I love that no matter how much time they've spent together, she immediately learned something new about him. She's like, you have a dog? And he's like, yeah, Fred. Isn't it like Fred? Fred? He's like, yeah, we got to go get my dog. And she's like, what? He's like, it's never come up. Like in however many years we've been doing this together, it's never come up.
What kind of dog is he?
So
he's one of them shaggy dogs.
Shaggy one. Shaggy dog. And she like doesn't get mad. She's just kind of like, oh, shaggy dog. Okay. And they just move on. And yeah, I just like my last note is, this is so fun. It's just such a fun one.
You get the, I don't read too much into it. I think it's just a cool little, but I did find myself this time, because I'm so familiar with the movie, actually taking some time to not pay attention, but think about some of the theories and whatnot.
Right.
What's your reaction to the dinosaur thing? Like, do you think that has any real significance?
No, I think they're just tripping on shrooms and asking if it's real. But it's so funny you say that, because I was thinking about it too this time, and I wanted to ask you, Do you think that Roy chooses to escape the loop?
Oh, I think so. I think based on the conversation they have when...
But like, even though it's like an unknown, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of wonder with him if he'd do something that was risky like that. But yeah.
So because he talks about, you know, wanting to see his daughter walk the aisle.
Walk down the aisle.
So I think he's found...
But he's got a pretty good setup. Like, we got to...
Yeah, he says he's...
I was going to say, he's got a decent setup of like, he looks forward to that day and he appreciates his marriage more. And like, I think this has taught Roy a lot, you know? So that's good. But he has a good point. Yeah. He's not going to see all these other milestones. Yeah.
I like that. The last little after credits scene of them running into each other at the wedding again and him not recognizing him and he realizes, oh shit, it worked. The dinosaur thing, though, they do show them right before the credits. So not only do they see them on shrooms, but then when we zoom out from the pool at the... I don't know if you noticed it, but like as it's zooming across the desert from that final pool scene, it shows the dinosaurs again. I think the director and writer are just like, yeah, we just thought it would be fun to have dinosaurs in the movie.
Yeah, I don't think I've noticed that.
My thought goes to like, well, this cave, who's to say that it hasn't just been there forever, but it's been you know, underground. So maybe at some point while he's been stuck in, because he says those are new, maybe at some point while Niles has been stuck in this loop, dinosaurs from millions of years ago walked into the cave finally, and now they're in the loop too. I just throwing it out there. I have no fucking idea, but I think it's neat.
That could be kind of fun. Yeah. But like, have we shown that it's a time travel loop, or is it just, I don't know. That opens a can of worms for sure.
I think it's a cool little shout out. Yeah.
It's a fun little nugget. I didn't notice them at the other part. So I think I just attributed it to like, okay, you're just tripping on shrooms. Those are some really good shrooms. Yeah. Those are some really good shrooms, but otherwise, it's fun. So I think, obviously we know that you love this movie. I also really enjoy this movie, but what's your rating?
So I can't get there yet. I had just a couple more things because I did say I wanted to shout out the side characters because I think we have our main three, right? Our core three characters, but all the bit players in this are great. I think probably the most underrated as I rewatch this over and over is Meredith Hagner, who plays Misty. The lines that she does get, annoying, her reactions to everything of like, wait, what? Like that delivery. And my favorite one is the first day that Sarah's stuck in there and Tala knocks her teeth out and they're all sitting on the couch and they're trying to figure out a dentist. How are we going to get this wedding to happen? Yeah. And Misty's sitting there going like, it's a big day for me too. And making it about her. It's in the background, but you hear her saying that. And it is just, everyone has that girl in their life who this is about.
Even though at the beginning, she's lecturing him about this is not our day. This is our friend's day. I didn't even really register that. So that's a good call out.
Or her
Misty,
wedding speech.
Oh, that was what I was literally about to say is like Misty is kind of the worst. And I think it comes through in this friend group even because if you think about literally anybody else delivering that wedding speech, like the core of the speech is actually not that bad. It's like somebody else could deliver it well where some of those things would get laughs. But I mean, it's not amazing, don't get me wrong, but like somebody else could deliver that and get a better reaction. And she's up there talking and she's trying to make things funny and all this. And like none of it lands, just a pin dropping, you could hear it. And I just think that's indicative of like, nobody really likes her. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think the bride is maybe the only person who likes her. And then maybe Trevor is, of course, eating her out in the back. But like, whatever. Like, other than that, nobody likes her.
I love the end of the speech when she just gives a definition and there's a pause. And then Tala's like, oh, she's finished. Clap, 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 clap. Like, doesn't realize this. No one realizes the speech is over because she just gave a definition.
But Tala's like, let me help. Let me help. We're done. I'll explain.
So I wanted to call out Misty, who I think is an unsung hero in this. I think Trevor is really funny for the little bits.
I like their really quick on Misty too. I like her and Andy Samberg's that scene where they're like saying the exact same thing at the same time because he knows everything she's gonna say, and it's so childish. But it goes on longer than necessary, but it's still funny. I wonder
how many takes that took to get that scene perfect.
That was really funny, I will say.
I wanted to call out. So we said Trevor is pretty cool for the little bit parts. I love how he just goes up and grabs the coke out of his pocket with Roy that night that he parties with Roy. Just got it, drugs in front of everyone.
Like so.
But I wanted to shout out Connor O'Malley, who plays Randy, who is just the weird looking guy that has like 4 lines, but every one of them is hilarious. He's the one that tries to get Sarah to dance with him at the beginning. She's like, I already told you no.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
Like, why do you think things have changed? Well, maybe you've had more to drink.
Because maybe more to drink. She's like, Really? Like, you can't say that, Randy. Yeah, no, that's right.
Or after
that's right,
the earthquake, when he's like, I should have never left the Great Lakes. This place is terrible. He's like, I'm okay. But he is in with the I Think You Should Leave guys on that Netflix series that I love with Tim Robinson, who's blowing up right now. He's got a movie with Paul Rudd, but he's in that. He's in Detroiters. So he's a great character actor and stand-up comic. So I wanted to shout him out. But the last side character that I want to mention is the grandma. Do you think grandma is stuck in this loop?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Do you think so?
It makes sense. Based on her dialogue, she does seem to know something. And I guess if you were at that age and you're at this beautiful wedding with your family and people you care about,
why would you not?
Why not? Why would you leave?
You're immortal. You're at a beautiful wedding at this point, you know? Yeah. But yeah, no, I think she's in the loop, and she wouldn't have a reason to leave in the same way, you know? Like, I think she gets to stay in this like joyful place, to your point. It's something that, cause like, think about, I mean, I personally am not a huge wedding person, but like grandma's going to be, right? Yeah. Like, this is a celebration of love and nostalgia and all the things that, you know, grandmas get to be a part of at special occasions. But when they go home, sadly, are often not with their families, right? So like, yeah, I think that's where she wants to be, but I definitely think she's stuck.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. She does seem to know, and she even says, you know, well, I guess you're going to be leaving soon. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Cool. We could have been hanging out this whole time. Which also begs
the question, because again, she's a grandma and she's a woman and she's probably a badass because she's there and she kind of knows what's going on. Like, did she figure it out and decide not to do it? You know what I mean? Because she's like, I guess you're going to be leaving soon. If she has been through this loop for forever, like the leaving part is not obvious. Right.
Like she doesn't know what the solution is.
She doesn't necessarily know what the solution is. So I think it could be interesting. I'm not saying this is what it is at all, but I think it could be interesting to understand that she figured it out and decided to stay. Yeah. You know?
She's like keeping tabs on, like she knows that they're stuck in there and she's seeing Sarah leave every day and testing out these. I don't know what grandma's doing in the background of this, but yeah, who knows?
I don't think she would say the things to them that she says at that moment if she doesn't think they're like for real leaving, you know? So, yeah, I just thought that was like a fun possible Easter egg too.
Yeah. The last thing I want to touch on before we get to ratings is possibly my favorite gag, which you kind of already hinted at. But when he does the list of people that he's hooked up with already, and it's flashing because I didn't mention the bartender in the side characters, she's like, I don't use the term bitch lightly, but she is just so fucking mean to everyone. She is short with people. She is rude. People give her compliments and she's like, yeah, I like my hair too. Or all these mean things that she's saying. But when they have the scene of them hooking up and she's like, I hit a man with this car. I don't know if he ever walked again. And that's when Niall's climax is just that bit. They show the Jerry cutaway. And then he does the joke about, oh, and I had sex with your dad, which isn't true, but is still a funny cutaway.
I do think it's it's a very funny cutaway of like, what are we doing? I don't know. It's like that, just such a cliche. And then he's like, I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you. And I think it actually speaks like on a deeper level to that their humor is similar, because anybody else could be very upset that you're making this joke about their dad. And she's just like, oh, okay. You almost got me. Like,
oh, goodness gracious. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed I mean, I knew that you liked it. I didn't realize you liked it this much. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear.
I do really like it. I think it's really, really good. I think like it's, like you said, it's a very tight script. It's great performances. It's funny, but it doesn't avoid entirely the hard parts of this, and it deals with them in a really human way. And it makes these people relatable. And, again, you can like not fully imagine yourself, but you could try to imagine yourself in the circumstance and how you would go through it. And I like that they show all those different phases, all those different aspects with these different personalities. So, yeah, I think it's really well done. I probably I know you're going to give it a crazy high rating. I would probably give it like a 7.5 or an 8, you know, somewhere in there. It's really good. I mean, I struggle to find a lot of flaws with it. I don't think it's like perfect by any means, but it's not like openly flawed, you know? So I think it's really, really good. What about you?
I think that's in line with sort of where it ends up falling on sort of Letterboxd or IMDb's of the world, like those sort of ratings. It's like a 7.5, 8, which I think for the subject matter is pretty damn good. I don't know what the 10 movies we talked about at the top of those different time travel films where they fall, but I'd assume they're around the same place. If I'm rating this on a personal level, and I've already said throughout this episode, the humor is exactly me.
You love this movie.
Even on 6th, 7th watch, I still laugh at almost every single joke. The plot, I just think the script is so tight. There's literally nothing I would change in this entire film. Is it the greatest piece of cinema ever made with beautiful shots and all this crazy shit? No, not a lot of special effects. But when I think about the fact that I would never change a single thing, and I'm telling you guys I'm being completely subjective, this is a 10 out of 10 film for me. I fucking love this movie.
Y'all, is this a record? Is this your first 10 out of 10?
I think did I give The Sandlot a 10? I think I've given out two 10s before on the pod. I just want to make it clear, guys, if you've never seen this, legitimately my favorite movie of the 2020s, my personal favorite.
Yeah, I think that's it's a great movie. I think it's a solid rating. Like, I think it's that I don't think it's as funny as you think it is. I do think it's funny, but I don't think it's as funny as you think it is. Otherwise, I would probably give it a higher rating. Because like I said, I don't think it's super flawed. Like, I'm not like, oh, you need to change this, you need to change that. There's like none of that for me, really. So yeah, that might be a record high for you. One of a couple. Have I ever given anything a 10?
I think you.
I don't even remember.
I'm pretty sure we've both given at least one. I don't know. We should have written this shit down.
I know. I feel like we got to figure out our stats now. I don't know.
Can we use AI for that? Can AI go back and look
AI,
up all our
listen to all of our episodes and tell us who rated what? Yeah, what's the split? I forgot to share one nugget before we say goodbye. I need y'all to understand that the Orchid Explosion by Fournier, which is how you say it, you say the whole thing. You don't just say Orchid Explosion. That is the key to finding out a lot of things in this movie, was in fact a real thing. It was like a real hair, like shampoo and conditioner set. They like talk about the spray, so maybe it's a spray, but it was certainly a hair conditioner set. And I looked it up today because I was like, I wonder, like, can you still buy this? Like, what happens? No, you cannot still buy it. However, you can get, there is a company that has recreated the fragrance, and it is literally a company that's about like recreating nostalgic fragrances.
Okay.
And you can buy Orchid Explosion by Fournier online by a fragrance company that has remade this, if you are so inclined to try and understand what this smells like. The description is very weird. So I have a lot of questions. If somebody does it, I need you to tell me, guys.
Also, another fun piece of foreshadowing there, because when he's smelling the air at the beginning and it's actually smelling Roy, Sarah comes over and he says, "Oh, Orchid Explosion." She's like, "How do you know that?" And he's like, "I dated a girl who used to bathe in it." And it's like, is he talking about Sarah?
Is he talking about her? Yeah. It probably is, to be honest, because he's forgotten his job, right? But he remembers things that have happened here. So I'm guessing it's her. Yeah. Oh, all right, guys. We had a great time with this one. This was really fun. I think this is a great pick. I'm also excited about our next pick, I will say. And have you seen it? I forget.
Not, so I'm excited.
Okay, so come back next week for another one that I think is really fun. Our buddy Andy Lamar loves this as well. We were talking about it while I was in Sydney, and that's why one of the reasons it came up for me. We are going to watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is also on Hulu, weirdly enough. I feel like we've become a Hulu podcast. But this is Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal, and it is hysterical and very well done, and it's very meta, very self-referential to Nick Cage. So, I would also recommend that you watch that.
So you said Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal. I think most people just call them Nick and Daddy. Those are...
Yes, obviously.
Daddy
he's everyone's daddy at this point. Sign me up. Whew. Anyways, in the meantime, though,
follow us on our socials: Instagram, TikTok. We drink and we watch things. You can also see the video portion of this podcast on Spotify Video or on YouTube, and we're also sharing a lot of our shorts and reels on there as well. Thank you, Mackenzie, for that. Finally, you can message us, we drink and we watch things pod at gmail.com, if you want to go the old-fashioned way and give us some feedback in email.
Yeah, and maybe comment on Reddit if you want to maybe run into Lamar, because he's on all the Reddit threads now. So I'm on YouTube, Lamar's on Reddit. We're fucking everywhere.
If you did somehow find this podcast from Reddit, let me know so that I know that I'm not wasting my time with a second account.
So. We should. Well, I will say, because on YouTube, like, I can find out who subscribes to us from there. Mm-hmm. So that's true. We don't have a way to measure Reddit. Yeah, let us know how you found us. All right, homies. But for now, go have a drink and watch a thing. Cheers.
Cheers.